Hello everyone, welcome to the East Africa Energy Series, coming to you from Kampala, the capital and biggest city of Uganda. I am Davis Ampumuza, a petroleum geoscientist and oil and gas analyst. And we will have a candid discussion with a Ugandan international consultant on economic transformation, Professor Augustus Nuwagaba. Professor Augustus Nuwagaba is an international consultant on economic transformation. He is a wealth creation expert in Africa. He is a qualified MBA in application of central bank monetary policy on commercial bank competitiveness. Professor Nuwagaba has worked intensively in analysis of fiscal metrics for governments in Africa, review of financial performance and analysis of tax policies. He works as the managing consultant at Riv Consult, an international firm, privacy consultancy firm incorporated in Uganda with headquarters at Plot 515 Bombo Road, Kampala. He was a consultant for the African Peer Review Mechanism under the new Plan for African Development, NEPAD. He was a member of the African Regional Panel of Experts on Development. Professor Nuwagaba is a member of the World Bank consultative group that developed the African Plan of Action. He was a leader of the Financial Penetration Project 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Nuwagaba was a team leader for developing financial management and training manual for parliamentary accountability committees, a member of audit committees of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development of the Republic of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Augustus Nuwagaba was a winner of the International Award for significant contribution to world society and appears in World Who is Who 2004, page 336. He was a consultant for mid-term review of the National Development Plan for the Republic of Uganda, 2010-2011 up to 2014-2015. He is a consultant for formulating the East African Community Development Investment Plan, 2016-2017 up to 2020-2021. He is a regular speaker at the induction of members of Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Augustus Nuwagaba was recently installed as the president of the Rotary Club of Muyenga. Well, I must say that I'm exceedingly humbled to host you, Professor, on this special edition of the East Africa series for the very first time.
Thank you very much, Davis, and good afternoon, our viewers. For those who are international, like in the US, good morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, one of the inspirations on why the East Africa Energy Series began was the hope to attain the East African Community. Professor, I don't know why we don't have a common market yet in East Africa. I believe that we need it more than any other continent. In fact, we need a common market for Africa, but we haven't attained a common market for the East African Community. Just in case the East African Community is moving, I don't know why it's moving slowly, Professor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Davis. In terms of the East African Community, we have had the East African Customs Union, which we received in 2007. We have also established a common market for East African Community. But as you are right, the people are not feeling it. But ideally in the document, we have a common market for East Africa. The only thing that is stopping all the hitch are two. One is the National Social Security Act of Uganda, which is different from Kenya, and also the VAT, taxation, the value added tax. So if we harmonize those two, then I think the common market for East Africa partnership should be in force. Okay. So ideally, the common market is there, customs union is there. We are now going to common currency and we go to federation. We are remaining with only two stages.
Okay, Professor, that's a very good insight. On the same issue, Professor, after that, after those two contracts we are left with, won't it still seem like it's still just on paper? Because Africans, we are really known for documenting and having very good scrupulous work on paper.
On implementation,
on implementation,
which is weak. You are
which
right.
is weak. How can we move forward on implementation?
Africa, we have been very good at making very nice and very big, very nice policies, very big, using very big words, using very good legislation. There's nobody who can beat Uganda in that, because we have very good policies, very good legislative instruments, very good action plans. You look at Uganda National Development Plan, one of the best. Our PRSP, the Poverty Reduction Strategy paper, was the best. And I worked with that one in Uganda, then in Rwanda, and also other countries. But when it comes to implement, our decentralization policy was the best. Our minimum health care strategy for Minister of Health. We won an international award. I remember Crispus Chong was our minister in 1999. But it comes to implementation, that is where the problem is. There's a very weak implementation. And here I want to challenge the government that we need to be a little bit serious in terms of implementation.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Now, Professor, the energy sector across East Africa has a role it can play in the transformation of the economies of the different East African countries. And for now, Professor, we shall concentrate on the emerging sectors, and particularly I want to go straight to oil and gas. And in Uganda, oil was discovered in 2006.
Yes.
And we have gone through a series of processes from exploration, and we are hoping to enter the production stage. And very recently, the final investment decision was signed, 3 contracts here in Uganda, which was a remarkable a milestone for the country. Professor, it's an honor to have you here, because you have a PhD in poverty eradication.
Correct.
In a country that has very poor people. In fact, not just a country that has poor people, but a continent that has poor people. And so, Professor, in terms of the emerging oil and gas sector in Uganda, how do you think the management of this resource, and what do you think needs to be done to impact so that we can reduce on the poverty in the country?
Yeah, thank you very much, Davis. The oil and gas sector is a very delicate undertaking. You have countries which have had oil. Uganda is not the first. We have Nigeria, we have Congo, we have Angola, we have South Sudan. We are not lacking countries that have had the experience of oil in themselves as the sector. Now, there are 2 major things that an oil economy needs to take care of. One is what we call the management of expectation. You need to manage expectation, because if people do not manage expectation very well, oil and gas, even the people in Uganda are going to think that oil is going to be the problem solver of all their problems. So people are going to stop, even those who are in agriculture. See, our agriculture is a very serious sector here. Because of COVID, we had agriculture, there was no problem. Food here has not been a problem. That's why you find that our growth has remained 2.9%. And it is only 2 countries in the world, China and Uganda, which have had a positive growth. South Africa -9, UK -7. Only China and Uganda are the 2 countries that have had positive growth. Uganda from 6.3 to 2.9. Why? Because of agriculture. But what is going to happen after oil has failed to be managed well is that people are going to think that President Museveni or government is going to be distributing money on their doorstep. That's poor management of expectation. Government needs to come out clearly and emphatically and tell people that oil and gas is simply like any other sector, like agriculture, like transport, like education, like anything. But if you fail to manage that, 2 things will happen. One, we are going to have what we call a resource movement effect. People leaving agriculture, production of maize, beans, and also moving to sit on their door and wait for government to distribute their money. Two, we are going to have poor investment of the proceeds from oil and gas. That's why this will create what we call a Dutch disease. That's where the Dutch disease comes from. The Dutch disease is a condition, which is an economic condition, that results from the failure for the government to manage expectation of oil and gas sector, and people will think that their problems are going to be solved even if they are sleeping every day. And what you will have is the situation like Nigeria, you have a situation like Namibia, like Angola, like South Sudan, where the emergence of oil and gas sector becomes now doom rather than having for solving the problems. Why? Let me repeat it, because of the failure for management of expectation.
Thank you very much, Professor. Maybe, Professor, I should have asked you this question before that one. Just very recently, Total has committed to Uganda reaching the step that we are all looking forward to of fast oil by 2025.
2025.
And you know, since 2006, there have been many commitments by both government and international oil companies on when fast oil is to be expected. And that has really put the country into a state of failing to manage expectations, like you are saying, Professor. Because a person like me, when I was joining university in senior one, in year one, I knew that by the time I finish, because they had said, oh, we'll be here. And so many people actually have invested, have
a lot
of
investment.
So in terms of commitment, Professor, 2025, what's your view on that?
Exactly, because when you fail to provide good modeling, well, that's why we need modeling to know when exactly is oil starting to flow. Now, what has happened is that many people have lost business. Because many people here in Uganda had invested greatly in the oil and gas sector. People had bought machinery, some had bought land, put up hotels, invested in real thinking that the oil was going to flow. So at that level, people have really lost investments. Not lost, but they have really waited for the flow to come. Possibly business, let's not reason like the Bible says, people of little faith. That's what the Bible says, because God says 1,000 days. For him it is like one day. So if we behave as the Bible tells us, then we are going to think that this oil will flow at its pace. But business doesn't work like that. And do you know why? Because I'm going to get a loan from the bank and invest, thinking that the oil is going to start flowing at this particular time, and the amortization of the loan that I've acquired is going to be exactly based on that. So if you don't therefore have correct projection, you're going to find yourself in economic trouble. That's what happened in most of the business men and women here. So government needs to manage the projections very well. When is oil likely to flow? And that will help. So that if I take a loan, this loan can be amortized, and then I know that paying interest rate and the grace period is this time. But if we leave it to continue changing, because this is like the third or fourth time,
About the fifth time.
about the fifth time of projecting that it's going to start and doesn't start, that it will start and doesn't start. And in terms of business, this can hurt a business completely. And two, you can lose, business is on trust. Everybody will get a loan, and the client from whom you have acquired the loan, you convince the person that the interest is going to be paid from this time. So there's no way you can go there 3 times. Now you become a liar. That's how you become a liar. That you cannot fulfill your obligations. And in business, that can't work. So we need, therefore, to be very serious and building the model of what really needs to be done, rather than leaving businessmen and women on beating about the bush as to when their investment can have returns. Because the banks cannot wait. It was supposed to start last year, it hasn't. So can we wait for it? These banks are commercial banks. most of them are commercial banks. We have very few development banks here. And development banks are the ones for long-term financing. But most of them are commercial banks. And these are very short-term financing sources. And therefore, there's no way you can invest in oil and gas, which is a long-term financing, by financing it from sources which are from short-term facilities. It can't work. You'll be in problems.
Yes, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor. Now, Professor, I also share the same school of thought with you when you say we shouldn't overhype the oil and gas sector as a very unique sector. And in fact, at one point, I think 2 years ago, the President of the Republic of Uganda also said the oil and gas sector is not going to be the most lucrative sector of the economy, which is true because we earn more than $1 billion from tourism per year.
Yes.
Actually,
1.7.
Yes,
$1.7 billion. Yeah.
And tourism is here forever.
Yes, 1.7.
Yes, yet oil and gas is a finite resource. It's going to be here if 25, 30 years, it will be normal.
Sure.
But now, Professor, there is something that I still am concentrating on. Now, you see, the oil and gas sector is a bit unique in terms of a curse or blessing. Now, when that special aspect comes in, Professor, you've given examples of countries like Nigeria, Africa's largest producer of oil. You know what the oil sector has impacted on the communities in Nigeria. Now,
what impact?
Yes, what impact, Professor? So, in terms of a resource, in terms of curse or blessing, Professor, what's the way forward for Uganda? Because I don't think we can we can't come, it's either a blessing or it's going to be a curse. And so that's why I'm concentrating, Professor, in terms of management and in terms of the sectors, the non-oil sectors of the economy that we need to invest our money in. Professor, what did you advise as a poverty eradication expert?
Two things. Because if oil is going to be a curse, that's our own making. If it is going to be a very serious resource, that's our own making. So the decision or the impact of what oil is going to create is purely rests on our shoulders, is within our control. So for me, what I'm advising government is it is possible to have this oil as a resource. And we have examples. What do you need to do? Number one, manage the expectation that Kasese district, Chibale, Fort Portal, Chegegwa, that corridor is a very serious corridor production of grain. And the household can produce about 2 tons of grain. For them, it is very, very easy for a household to produce 2 tons of grain, which is quite a substantial amount of money for a peasant. Now, you tell the government that there is a need for the people to remain in their sectors and only transit from their sector. When you have developed sufficient capacity, that now from agriculture, I'm going to marketing, so I'm going to manufacturing capacity, that now from agriculture, I'm going to marketing, so I'm going to manufacturing, I'm now going to knowledge base, and I'm also going to partake of oil. I can put a hotel in Hoima and partake of this oil resource. But it's not that everybody, irrespective of what you are doing and what capacity you have, you will go and invest and then partake of the oil and gas. It doesn't happen that way. Rusto's stage of growth is from primary, secondary, to manufacturing, to knowledge, and now to IT, this fourth revolution we are in now. You cannot tell me that you can come from agriculture to the fourth revolution. Use the fourth revolution in agriculture to do what? To go to tell a hoy to go to dig when you are at home, and you are going to use remote control to tell a hoy to go, and it can't happen. It is from, let me repeat it, from this Rusto stage is an economist. Rusto is an economist. It's from primary, secondary, to tertiary, to knowledge base, and then to this current fourth revolution you are having. So let's not pretend. And I know Uganda, you have a habit of too much copying. A country, it is a country in hurry. There's no need to hurry, but there is a need to copy what other people have done. So, Professor, what therefore should be done is that you need to publish what you earn and publish what you spend, and I want to congratulate the government that our Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, signed this document. Recently, I think we signed it like a year ago. Yeah, it's about 1 year old. So we signed this, publish what you earn, publish what you spend. We are members of that transparency, Euro Transparency Initiative.
Yes.
It's called the Euro Transparency Initiative. So if you are the members of that initiative, let's publish what we earn, publish what you spend. That's what Norway has done. And this is the only secret that Norway has used. By the way, there is the period I was in Norway. I passed to London. I was a consultant of United Nations. I was in London. I'm a supporter of Manchester.
Yes, I
Man
know. You always told me.
Yeah, Man U. Even I bought all my children.
I remember the time you rang me up when you were watching.
Exactly. So I was in Manchester. I had a meeting there. I was in Leeds. I moved very quickly to Amsterdam. I was in Sweden. I was in Dubai. I was in New York. And what was I doing? UN had contracted me to map. You are the one who said the tourism is $1.7 billion. So UN had contracted me to recently. This is recent, actually October 2019. When the COVID was just started. I arrived here on the 22nd of October. And I was seeing people putting on these masks in China. We were laughing at them. Wow, these people looking. You see how ugly they are looking. I was in London at that time, and UN had if COVID had hit, and actually I would be the first culprit. I was mapping diaspora investment. Okay. And I was able to map it very successfully. It is $1.5 billion. Wow. Yes, what your brothers and his mothers and the fathers and brothers and sisters and so who are in Europe and what the ones I was in very serious places where most of them are. So it's approximately $1.5 billion. Quite substantial. Quite substantial because when you add it to tourism, which is 1.7 plus that 1.5, it is $3.2 billion. Over 37, it is 10.2% of our what? GDP. It is very, very serious. Very serious. Very, very serious. Yeah. But when I asked them one question, what would you want to invest in? And there's no one who said oil and gas. Can you imagine? There's nobody who said that. They are still thinking in terms of real estate, coming and build apartments, and so on. And the reason was, they were very, very rational. The reason was, it is only apartments and real estate in general, which doesn't need a lot of first of all, supervision, and where they don't steal your money. So there is a need, therefore, to have oil and gas as a sector that can attract foreign direct investment as well. We have domestic direct investment, which is very good, but also you find we don't have sufficient money. And if you don't have sufficient money, this can end up being taken over by foreigners. And I've been warning these Ugandans. They don't know how to weld. We are not certified on welding. We are not certified on many other byproducts of oil. Ones I saw in your book, because it can have about 17 byproducts others, which can come up as a result of. There are very, very many other things which can come up as a result of having oil and gas. Now, how are you going to benefit from these when you are not prepared and you have not known them? So I advised, especially the meeting in Manchester, that we have oil and gas, and instead of wasting their money in apartments which do not have tenants, look at these shopping malls, we can calibrate and project and work out very good feasibility studies for oil and gas investments. Yeah. But also, as of me now, I'm not yet sure which ones are those, but we can research on them and know which ones are they, how viable are they feasible, yes or no, which ones are feasible, and then we attract people to invest in those. But for me, I'm very optimistic that oil and gas sector can transform this economy. As a poverty reduction, as you have said it, as consultant and expert, I still have an optimistic view that oil and gas, if you manage expectation and you manage transparency, can be a very wonderful sector for very quick economic transformation of the Ugandan economy.
Thank you very much, Professor. That's very insightful. And Professor, I share the same school of thought with you. I also believe that the oil and gas sector can actually transform. It can actually transform. And now that you've also said that we are part of the extractive, the transparency initiative. Once
Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative.
Yes. Once our earnings, our expenditure are documented, once we can actually see what's happening, I believe that we shall manage the resource well.
Exactly.
Professor, taking you a little back when you told me about Norway, you know we are very blessed to have a good example like Norway. And I remember at some time, there was a time you came to my book launch and you said you were in a meeting in Norway, and I think a certain Norwegian got a kind of a flu.
No, I was not in Norway. I was in Ethiopia.
Oh, that was Ethiopia.
Yes, Ethiopia, yes. She got the flu. By the time we were in break time, they were coming to pick her up by ambulance. Anna, she was Danish.
Can you imagine?
Yes. The example I was giving is of a country which manages
its resources.
Taxes very well. Exactly, resources very well. And then I asked you a question in that meeting. If you are in such a country, would you need a policeman to enforce taxation?
Definitely.
And the answer is what?
No.
No. Why? Because I know the importance of paying tax. I know the importance of not paying tax. I know the benefits of paying tax. And then everybody in Denmark, do you know how much tax people pay in Denmark? 65%. Pay as you earn is 65. Here we are just joking, it's 30. On the threshold, even income tax 30%, corporation tax here 30%. For them it is over 60. So if you earn 1 million, the money you are taking home is 35, it's 350. 350,000. But nobody's complaining. Have you ever had anybody complaining? No.
Nobody complaining.
No.
Because
your house is paid, electricity is paid, hospitals are free, best tele services are there, best hospitals are there, best schools are there. Why are you complaining? Nobody, I've never seen anybody in Denmark complaining. But we are paying a lot of taxes. Everybody is complaining. But essentially, because of the lack of transparency, poor governance, especially the stealing of government resources, high level of corruption, the death of the health and educational infrastructure, you find that people on your own, you work for little money, it is highly taxed. The 1 million you earned here, income tax 300,000, you remain with 700. With the holding tax 6, they removed another 660,000. Now you have 640. You are going to pay water, electricity, VAT on it as well. And for you, there is nothing where you are going to input to get the refund.
yes.
By the time you go home, you are remaining with like 400,000. You reach home, your daughter is sick. There is no government hospital which is working. You need to. This is the chaos which is here.
Yes,
So the daughter now needs 300,000. What are you going to do? Quack. Take her to quack clinics, which also cannot be supervised very well.
Yes,
Pay 150,000. Save at the other 150. The daughter worsens. And you need to take her now to higher facilities. So you now go to professor to borrow. For now, borrow another 500,000 to put the other 150. Now you are in a debt of. That's what is the real situation, not fiction. Real situation. So you find because of the failure of the public services, people have joined the ranks of not only urban poverty we are talking about, but actually chronic. They have entered the chronic poverty and remained chronically poor. There is therefore no way people can come out of chronic poverty without public investment in what? In social, very functioning social services. That's why you love these countries. That's why you love these countries. Their wage economy, their wage economies are not all that high, like in London, but the state is functioning. Services are provided. You don't need there are basically no areas where it's spent. Basically, where do you spend? In Denmark, you are spending on what? If your pension is provided,
There's no need.
your house, the house is provided. Electricity is very, very cheap. Telephones are the cheapest. Electricity cheapest. Health services superb. You are stealing money to do what? So the moment the state is not functional, then it sows seeds of corruption and stealing, because people are trying to create the welfare state individually. So the moment you try to create that welfare state individually, from where? Public resources. This is not good.
So, Professor, the East Africa Energy Series, when we were coming up with the East Africa Energy Series, I myself, plus a few other individuals, I swore to God, I said, there is no way we can stay poor as East Africa when we have people like you. Imagine somebody who has a PhD in poverty eradication in an area that is really stricken by poverty. So it's our hope and the expectation that that we can actually bring East African countries together through this show and see how, through the energy sectors here. That's why I was asking you about the energy sectors, and see how we can harmonize and see how we can come together and see how we can bring brains to work, how we can go on a round table and see how we can develop the East African community.
And we have done it, because now we have got the East African oil pipeline.
Yes,
you are very much aware. Isn't that a very good initiative?
That's a very good initiative.
2, we are going to have pipeline.
Yes, pipeline.
Was it a very good initiative?
Tanga, yes.
So that we add the value in the other oil. You know the oil we have is waxy.
It's waxy, yes.
Very waxy.
Yes.
So you cannot get a lot of money.
Yes.
It is heavy. Very difficult to sell, to transport to other countries.
Yes.
So it is better to refine it.
Yes.
Before those were very, very excellent initiatives.
Yes,
oil pipeline, I loved it.
Yes.
Even before the oil starts, it provides employment.
Yes.
To Ugandans, to Tanzanians, and the very bottom of Africa. It creates jobs, it creates aggregate demand, and once people have some money in their pocket, economic activity.
Yes, Professor.
So these were very good initiatives, and they should be supported.
Yes, Professor.
But now when you reach in the middle politics of it, then you start having problems again. Yes. But I think these can be managed.
Yes,
we need to manage them. We need to congratulate Uganda and Tanzania on signing the oil pipeline. It's a very good initiative.
It is.
It is a very good start of when and how we can move forward.
Yes. Thank you very, very much, Professor. It was very nice to have you. But Professor, finally, I just got to know this very recently, that you were installed as the president of the Rotary Club of Muyenga.
Yes.
And this is, for me, it is something extremely, extremely special, and giving back to community, given the kind of person you are, the inspiration you are to the world, and how does it feel, Professor, and how do you think your position will actually help to eradicate poverty in Uganda as well?
Yes, I'm currently the president of Rotary Club of Muyenga. I was installed on 1st July 2021 here because of COVID. I should have been installed in a very big ceremony, but we had a very humble ceremony of 2 people.
Oh.
Yes, the governor Ken Mugisha of Uganda and Tanzania installed me, and it is a very humbling responsibility, because you serve above self, because Rotary is about serving above self. We build minds, we bridge continents, we provide hope, we change lives, especially among the vulnerable. So for me, as a poverty eradication and wealth creation, economic transformation specialist, there is no any other relevant platform like Rotary movement, because what Rotary is about is changing lives, is serving the community, is reaching out to those in need, the underprivileged. That's what they do. So when I found Rotary, this was 2010, it was a very big opportunity for me to find people of one mind, convergence of mind, working together to change lives of the communities, particularly focusing on the vulnerable. So I'm very humbled by the responsibility, and I hope that I'm going to fulfill the tenets of Rotary, which is to change this year. The theme is serve to change lives. Our president is Sheikha Mehta from the Rotary Club of Mahanagana in India.
Oh, okay.
And is a Rotarian. He's serving to change lives. And our main focus, 7 areas of focus. One is economic development, disease prevention and control, environment protection, maternal health, basic education, and literacy. Those are the areas we are focusing. And my main area of focus in those 7, as you could guess, is what? Economic and community development, to ensure that households can improve their well-being by having that extra income. And for me, if I change one household from having $1 to the next $1, and it is only one, I would have done my work. I don't need 1,000. If I change one household, the child was not in school, and this child is now going to school, I have done my work. That's what Mother Teresa says. I think you have read it here.
Yes, I did.
If that is you are failing to get people who can change, you are the one, then you will be the one. Beginning with yourself and be the one.
Yes.
Don't ask others. So be the change that you're looking for, as Gandhi says. And that's what I'm doing. With the help of God, I'm really not making mountains move, but I'm able to make a significant contribution that can be recognized with all my abilities. That's what we are doing.
Thank you very much, Professor. And with your expertise and that willingness to serve, there is no doubt that you are definitely going to transform communities.
No, we shall transform communities. I'm already working with the borders in Kampala. I have written a project it is called Skills Building and Professionalization of Border Riders in Kampala.
Okay.
The project is big. It is being supported by everyone. We have already provided them with the food. We have started professionalizing them. I'm working with the Kampala Metropolitan Police.
Okay. Wow.
I'm going to work with a number of other agencies. They are all coming in to support me. We are making small contributions. Not moving mountains, but very, very serious small contributions.
Journey of 1,000.
As the Baganda say, fenna tesobola kukola ebintu ki ebisukulumu. But buli muntu yenna alina obusobozi okukola obuntu obutonotono n'obusukulumu obw'ekitabo. So each person, not everybody can do very marvelous things, but each one of us has the ability, inbuilt ability, to do small things in a great way. That's what the proverb in Uganda means. In a small way.
Extraordinary way. Yes, Professor.
In a small way.
Yes. So, Professor, it was an honor to have you on this show.
Thank you so much, yes.
And dear listeners, it was also an honor to have you listen to this special edition of the East Africa Energy Series, and catch you up next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.